To begin my Dharma message, please join me by placing your palms together in Gashal. The one who hears and never forgets this Dharma, but sees and reveres it and greatly rejoices in attaining it, that person is my true companion. Therefore, awaken this mind. Such a person is one of great majestic virtue. They shall enter the preeminent gateway of the boundless Buddha Dharma. From the collective works of Shinran, the true Shinjin of the Pure Land Way. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandavats. 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 Well, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. I'd first like to start my message by thanking Reverend Akahoshi for the kind invitation to be your guest speaker for the Nirvana Day and Buddhist Women's Association Memorial Service. Although I was much looking forward to coming down to sunny San Diego to be with all of you in person, I'm so grateful to be able to join with you due to the wonders of technology. Also, many thanks to Mr. Bill Teague for your kind assistance with my video Dharma message as well. So today, we're observing Nirvana Day, while also remembering the past women of the Buddhist Women's Association. These two very important observances gives us an opportunity to gratefully come together to reflect upon the life of the Buddha, his teachings, and his passing, in addition to remembering our friends in the Buddhist Women's Association who have passed away. Today, I wanted to share with you the events in the Buddha's last days of his life and the meaning for us today, especially related to our memorial service for the BWA women. A few months leading up to the Buddha's passing, he was actually quite ill with very bad stomach issues, which were very painful. He didn't complain to others how he was feeling, and he was able to carry on. However, he wanted to make sure that all of his disciples were taken care of before he passed away. As the Buddha began feeling a little bit better, he went out of the monastery and sat down. His very devoted companion, Ananda, went to where the Buddha was sitting and told the Buddha that the sight of seeing the Buddha so ill also made him feel very weak as well. But it did bring him some comfort knowing that the Buddha would give instructions to all of the disciples before his passing. The Buddha told Ananda that his life would be coming to an end soon, and he knew that his death was imminent. And he stated that each of the followers should make the Dharma their island. There are some interpretations that the Buddha said, make the Dharma their lamp. The Buddha instructed them and said, and whoever after I'm dead shall be an island unto themselves, who makes the Dharma their island, the Dharma will be their refuge, and they will be the foremost amongst my monks. Although very old and very ill, the Buddha continued to spread the teachings to others in India and continued to spend his time with his dear companion, Ananda. One day, Ananda pleaded with the Buddha to live longer for the happiness, good, and benefit of others. However, the Buddha could not fill this request, as he had taught his followers the teachings of the truth of life and to see things as they truly are. If you can imagine, this was so difficult for Ananda to hear, and he begged the Buddha once again, please, please do not pass away. The Buddha told him, enough, Ananda, do not beg me, and asked Ananda to gather the disciples in the great hall. So when all of the disciples gathered with him, he told the disciples, whatever truths I have taught you, study them and put them into practice, so that the holy life may long last for the good and benefit of many. All component things must grow old and pass away. Work out your salvation with diligence. At the end of 3 months' time, the Blessed One will pass away. My age is now ripe and full. My life draws to its close. Be diligent, mindful, and virtuous. Keep watch over your own hearts. All of the Buddha's disciples were saddened to hear the announcement of the passing of the Buddha, and all came forward to pay their last respects. Although the Buddha stated that he only had 3 months more to live, he continued to share the teachings with others. The Buddha and the disciples arrived in Pava, and the son of the village goldsmith, whose name was Kunda, invited them to a meal. Some scholars believe that this meal was a special delicious dish of mushrooms, while others believe that it was a meal of wild boar. The Buddha advised Kunda to serve him only the dish that he had prepared. The other food that Kunda had prepared could be served to the other monks. After the meals were served, the Buddha told Kunda, "Kunda, if any of that dish is left over, bury it in a hole. I do not see anyone in the world other than the Blessed One who could eat and digest the food if they ate it." "So be it, Lord," Kunda replied, and buried the leftovers in the ground. He went to the Buddha, and after paying homage to him, sat down at his side. Then the Buddha taught Kunda the Dharma. The Buddha also praised Kunda for the meal that had refreshed and strengthened him after his long journey. But soon after this, the Buddha became very ill again, similar to what he had been suffering and experiencing from earlier, and the sharp pains in his stomach returned. By an effort of will, he was able to bear through the pain. Though extremely weak, the Buddha decided to continue on immediately to another village, a little more than 6 miles away. After a very painful struggle, he reached the grove of sala trees just outside of the town. The Buddha took his last bath, and after resting a while, he said, "Now it may happen that some people may make Kunda regret having given me the meal that made me sick. Ananda, if this should happen, you should tell Kunda that you have heard directly from the Buddha that it was a great benefit for him. Tell him that 2 offerings to the Buddha are of equal benefit, which is the offering of food just before the Buddha's supreme enlightenment and the offering of food just before he passes away. This is the final birth of the Buddha." The Buddha then asked Ananda to prepare a place for him to rest, with his head to the north between 2 big sala trees. A little while later, it was noticed that Ananda was nowhere to be seen. He had gone inside a hut and stood leaning against the door, and he was weeping. He thought to himself that he really, truly had so much more to learn, and his kind teacher was about to pass away. The Buddha asked for Ananda to return and told him, "Enough now, Ananda. Do not sorrow and cry. I have told you many times that we must all part from those who we love dearly. It is not possible for something that has been born not to die." The Buddha then praised Ananda for his acts of loving kindness, and also for being so very helpful. The Buddha then asked Ananda to go to the village to inform everyone that he will pass away that night and ask to see his followers. So, of course, Ananda and another monk did as the Buddha told them, and they went to tell the other people of the village. When they heard this news, they were deeply saddened and grief-stricken. Men, women, and children came to the 2 big sala trees, and they bid a last farewell to the Buddha. Family by family, they bowed down before the Buddha and said their goodbye. The Buddha was 80 years old at the time of his death. So when I hear this story of the Buddha's life and, of course, of his passing, I'm amazed at his acceptance of his imminent death. This is why he truly is an enlightened being. He realized the truth of life, understood impermanence, and was not clinging to his mortality. He comforted his devout followers, especially Ananda, and told him not to cry. So when I experience the passing of a loved one, it's really hard not to cry. I can only imagine how Ananda felt as he anticipated the passing of the Buddha, as he was facing the separation from the loss of his great teacher. Loss, as we know, can come in so many different forms, such as the passing of our friends and loved ones, the ending of a relationship with a partner or even a friend, the loss of a job, the relocation of where we live, the experience of natural disasters, and losing our material and sentimental possessions, and of course, so much more. Loss and grief have affected each of us, and I know that I have shed countless tears regarding loss in my 42 years of life. I'm reminded of Lady Tekmple Kujo's poem. It's entitled Women's Tears. Lady Kujo was born in 1887 and died in 1928. She was the daughter of Koson Otani, who was the 21st Monshu of our Jodo Shinshu school of Buddhism. She is known for her contributions and charitable work in the slums of Tokyo and during the Great Kanto earthquake of 1923. All of her dedicated work led to the founding of Asoka Hospital, which is one of the great medical centers in Japan. And of course, I cannot forget to mention that she was the founder of the Buddhist Women's Association in Japan. I'm drawn to the very first two sentences of Lady Kujo's poem, Women's Tears. She wrote, "Women's tears are beautiful. Divorced from the cold, objective world, they are drops from the limitless fountain of love." While looking back on the last few weeks and even the past few days, there was a common theme. I cried. During these moments of my falling tears, I wondered what was happening to me. I found myself thinking, Candice, you're a highly emotional person, as if that was a fault in my character. Because of my tearful reactions, I wondered if I had been really overlooking some of my self-care. Various moments and events made me shed tears even within this last year. We are all experiencing a very trying time in our lives as we continue to live during this pandemic. Initially, when the pandemic began, I was so grateful to hear that members of the temples that I serve were remaining safe and healthy. However, as the months began to pass, I started hearing about the members falling ill from the coronavirus and some passing away due to complications. I thought about my members and their families and not being able to see and comfort them, and so many others worldwide who were also experiencing these same circumstances. I cried this last year because of the division of the American people and the social injustices that individuals are facing. I cried as I felt burnt out and the lack of energy and motivation to get even some daily tasks done. I cried as I missed my mother throughout the year, especially on her birthday and the anniversary of her passing. I had to remind myself that it's okay to cry, and it wasn't a fault in my sensitive character. I think that I also found comfort in viewing the tears and emotions through Reverend Dr. David Matsumoto's AAA life. This includes a life of awareness, authenticity, and appreciation. Through this wonderful tenet of Reverend Matsumoto's teachings, I was reminded that I was going to be okay. I'm becoming more aware of the causes and conditions of my life that have allowed me to be where I am today, and feel very fortunate to experiencing these encounters with countless people through my work in the ministry. I'm reassured that the tears and emotions are a very distinct part of my unique and authentic self. Knowing that the Dharma guides me, while causes and conditions of my life shape the woman that I am, I'm reassured that I'm okay just as I am. Also, acknowledging that Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion always surrounds me, even when my tears are falling, has created a deep appreciation for all of the events and feelings that I experience, which may not always be pleasant and happy. Due to my AAA life and from Lady Kujo's words from her poem that I read, I am comforted knowing that my tears are beautiful and come from a fountain of love. So reflecting upon all who I've encountered in my life and the tears of joy and pain that I've shared with them, I also reflect upon the hymn in my opening message, which I read from the collected works of Shinran, and it talks about our dear companions in the Dharma. During this Nirvana Day in Buddhist Women's Association Memorial Service, I reflect upon the disciples of the Buddha and our friends of the BWA who have encountered the Dharma as well, as Shinran stated. The one who hears and never forgets this Dharma, but sees and reveres it and greatly rejoices in attaining it, that person is my true companion. Therefore, awaken this mind. Such a person is one of great majestic virtue. They shall enter the preeminent gateway of the boundless Buddha Dharma. So we can think about the past BWA members in this light. They have heard the teachings of the Buddha and Shinran Shonin, and their hearts and minds have awakened. They have attained supreme enlightenment. Shinran Shonin calls these individuals his true companions and encourages us to awaken our hearts and our minds as well. He praises these individuals with great virtues, just as we praise our dear BWA members who have passed away as well. All of the past BWA members, and of course all of your loved ones, are continuously guiding us and showing us the Nembutsu teachings. Through their wisdom and compassion, they are encouraging us to live our authentic lives, full of tears of joy and sorrow, with Namu Amida Butsu in our hearts. So thank you again for having me be your guest speaker today. Please join me in Gassho. Namu Amida Butsu. 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 Namu.